The goal is to bring you your next favorite band.
Sweet, that intro is my new favorite band. That's phenomenal. I'm so excited to be on.
Yeah. I heard a rumor that you might be able to play that song live today.
You heard correctly. Yes.
Excellent. So,
good enough for rock.
I don't know when I rock out here on your next favorite band show.
and listen, it's going to be everybody's favorite band.
Phil, you weren't supposed to make me get all... God almighty,
But this
Phil.
is why we do it.
Like, seriously. I gotta gather myself. All right, go ahead.
Okay.
Welcome to your next favorite band. That's both the show title and our promise to you. We here at Stereophilia Studio are tireless in our pursuit of finding incredible, genre-defiant artists who are either a hot up-and-coming band or a group that has been delivering for years but have flown under the radar. Tonight, we have ethereal, emotional, multi-layered anthems that will have you feeling like you're going for a long drive up the coast from California. Each month,
Windsor.
we will bring you live streams, audio podcasts, and perhaps even a live concert where you can listen to the stories and hear the music of artists personally curated by us based on what we feel will be worthy of your time. Be sure to subscribe and tune in to each episode because the possibilities are endless and you never know who will be your next favorite band. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the show. I am your host, Philip Reese, and you are listening to your next favorite band. And let me tell you something. I really feel great about this one. I think you're going to definitely find it to be your next favorite. If you don't already know, I'm guessing a lot of people will be tuning into this one simply because you'll already be aware of Windsor. A lot of great catalog already out there, an EP, an LP, and just lots of other great appearances. For those of you who don't know, it's been something that, in fact, I was just sharing, it kind of broke my own rule. Like normally on this show, every guest would be the kind of process where I went proactively after them because of having seen them play live. This one became one that I was going proactively after because the recorded music is I'm so in love with that it just didn't necessarily want to wait because I just think it's such an incredible catalog of music and also some important themes that kind of tie in with other things that we're definitely, big fans and proponents of on the mental health side, which, we'll definitely get into. So we are going to have a great conversation and you're going to absolutely love the music. But first, happy Pride for those who should stand out and proud, and those of you who are also allies and such. Thank you for all of that, and want to also make sure that people feel, that they have safe places because of things that are just under attack right now, and so want to make sure that this is a place for that, and so definitely wanted to acknowledge. That what's going on in this world today is unjust and unfair and a lot of crap, and want to make sure that anybody and everyone can do what they can to make sure people feel that they can be their own genuine selves and, just not have anyone opposing them from just simply being who they are. So I don't ever want to sound like I'm standing on a soapbox, but I also can't stand for garbage. So anyway, that's that. I didn't have any necessary. Normally we start with like a bit. I didn't have a bit. It was the beginning of June, and I wanted to acknowledge that. And there you have it. Where we're going to put it, and of course that can generate a need for some other types of assistance. So let's go to our sponsor, BetterHelp, and then we will get to our guest. Hey, music lovers! Before we dive into today's episode, I want to tell you about our sponsor, BetterHelp. More and more mental health topics of depression, anxiety, addiction, and more are coming up in our interviews with artists and musicians who are brave enough to share them and the music that came out of the journey. Those songs may even help us feel a little bit less alone as we work through the same struggles, but at the end of the day, we need more than just a great song. We need therapy, and that's where BetterHelp can assist. BetterHelp connects you with a therapist who can help you find your path. Instead of being stuck in the endless loop of questioning yourself, you can talk through questions, concerns with someone who's trained to help you find real answers. As you know, our Listen to the Dissonance shows help to create a safe space for vulnerable conversations, but not everywhere can feel that way. Since BetterHelp is accessed via their app, you can explore your options and conduct your sessions in the comfort of your own home or wherever you feel is best for you. After you download the app, you'll get started by filling out a questionnaire and get matched with a therapist in as little as a couple of days. And if that's not feeling right, you can easily switch to a different therapist at any time at no extra cost. They carefully make sure the therapists on the platform are well qualified and their customer support team is there to help you with any questions. With over 7,000 reviews and a 4.5 rating on Trustpilot, BetterHelp is a platform that you can trust. We at Your Next Favorite Band believe in breaking the stigma around mental health, and going to therapy is a sign of strength, not weakness. And with BetterHelp, it's easier than ever to take that first step towards feeling better. Click the link here or go to betterhelp.com/nextfaveband and you'll get 10% off your first month of therapy. That's betterhelp.com/nextfaveband. It's okay to ask for help. Contact BetterHelp today. Like I said, super honored to have this week's guest on. Windsor has just such an amazing way to pull together melody, lyrics, layering of the song, and just simply putting it out there in a way that helps you maybe forget, but also work through stuff. I don't know, and then also just enjoy the great music. As we always say, the most important part here is to write a killer track. So enjoy this one here. It's a stunning ballad, and it's in a beautiful space. Enjoy the song "Shut Up and Kiss Me" by Windsor.
You and I were a movie that I never wanted to end. Young adult fiction. You were more than just a friend. Playing on my records while I was somewhere on the road. Wanting you forever, you were softer than the New York snow. You're my dream lover, and I don't wanna fall asleep underneath the covers. You said, shut up and kiss me.
Over the last year, Windsor has been writing, recording, and fine-tuning his debut self-titled album. He's proud to say the album is out now. These songs have helped him reckon with his past, find love, and healing. Now that the music belongs to all of us, he hopes that the songs help us in some way, or at least help us feel less alone. We'll bring it back up. We'll bring Windsor on the show.
Playing on my records while I was somewhere on the road. Wanting you forever, you were softer than the New York snow. You're my dream.
I don't want to talk over the falsetto. But welcome to the show, Windsor.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you for honoring us. Some time to talk about your story and share your music. I mean, just awesome. This one is such a powerful ballad and vocals first. If I understand it right, it's about, being away from your wife and then being able to come home and just have that spark of romance because you're on the road or whatever recording. And then just having that still there. I mean, beautiful, beautiful song.
Thank you.
And we tend to go chronologically, so we're gonna come back to the new release a little bit down the road. But tell me about the video. It's in this wonderful space.
Yeah, we kind of, I guess, some of the inspiration behind the song and the way it sounds was this is 50s music, and
Sure, I can see, yeah.
I was for some reason when I was writing it, this track by Ricky Nelson was just like really resonating with me. Like Lonesome Town by Ricky Nelson was really resonating with
cool.
me. And you know, with the album, there's like a lot of heavier topics, so I just wanted to have some love songs on the record too.
Sure.
And at first I felt like this particular song, it wasn't like translating correctly until we got to the studio with it.
Okay.
And we got to the studio and I got to play with some amazing session musicians on the album.
Yeah, actually, let's, if you don't mind, talk about that too, because you played it for them like once or twice, and then they improvised from there. Like, that's another fascinating fact about this album.
Yeah. There's no digital samples on the album. It's all real musicians playing in a room. And when we brought this song to the table, I kind of didn't know what was going to happen with it.
Sure.
It wasn't the one that I was like the most excited to record. I knew there was something there, but I felt like it just had to be figured out.
Right.
In the room with the player. So when we sat down to record it, the piano player Jerry was like, "What if we gave it like this sort of John Lennon-y, like we get rid of the 50s thing and we just give it this sort of tight John Lennon Plastigono band thing." And we just went with that.
That's
and
awesome.
It all started to kind of make sense after that.
What great collaboration too. Like, that's one thing I've noticed through the research of doing things. Like, you're so open to letting your music be affected by other talented musicians and songwriters and stuff, and vice versa. People bring you stuff too. Yes.
I had the pleasure of working with some incredible musicians in the studio. There's a few co-writes on the album, but I did a lot of it. I did a lot of the writing on my own for this one. And yeah, sometimes people hit me up to write for their records, which is fun. It's a fun.
Yeah. But that space that the video is recorded in is a very cool like space to perform. I think I read between the lines somewhere that is that where you're hoping to do like an album release show, or?
We already had the album release show.
Okay, yeah.
But the director of the video, Joey Wasilewski, and we came together. We felt like it would be really cool to do a sort of, maybe this, the song got pulled out of the 50s thing, but we thought that a more 1950s video would be cool to shoot. So we talked about like the Ed Sullivan Show and like The Last Waltz and Buffalo 66.
Sure.
And just like film inspiration. And we thought, it'd be really cool to shoot just like a performance video in a beautiful space with a humongous spotlight. Right? It's like showman crooner kind of vibe for the video. And we shot it at a place called the Pico Union Project in Los Angeles. It's an old synagogue.
Yeah, that's so cool too.
And it's my friend Abby Taubman's father's venue.
Oh wow!
So they have shows there. Like I saw Blake Mills play there one time. But we didn't. We also kind of wanted to keep it sort of mysterious, so you don't see any of the religious, stuff in there. But it's just such a magical space and has
you can tell
history.
And you can also, I think it brought like that out of you too, because it's something that meant something to you too. Like it added to the whole vibe.
Yeah.
It
was fun.
Very, very cool. So yeah, I'm just hoping to catch a show at some point myself, so that I can. It's very obvious that you are a tremendous live performer, in addition to being this great songwriter. So I can't wait to see a Windsor show myself. But let's go through the story, because there's lots to get to here. You grew up in Santa Cruz, California, and what I found, two tidbits before even getting to your story, was one I thought was fascinating, which I didn't know, was the UC Santa Cruz mascot is the banana slug,
Yeah.
which was for those of you who don't know, it looks something like this. And then I was like, well, what even is a banana slug? So I just figured we should share that too. It literally looks like a banana. How about that? And then there's the redwoods and the beautiful space. But anyway, the other thing I thought was fascinating about that was there's apparently, and I heard you talk about this, like a rivalry between Santa Cruz and San Jose.
I wouldn't even say, well, I'm from Santa Cruz, so I don't want anyone coming for me, but I don't even think it's a rivalry, but yeah, I guess.
Right.
I guess
Well, I
there's
mean,
a rivalry.
I guess where you were speaking to it was something about Smash Mouth or something was claiming to be from Santa Cruz, but they're not. And then
Yeah.
you had a little bit of a banter about that.
Yeah, they troll me. Smash Mouth has trolled me many times. They're like, our pride and joy. I'm like, you're not from here. You're from San Jose. One of them like lives in Santa Cruz, but the band started in San Jose, so they frequented Santa Cruz and they played Santa Cruz a lot like when I was growing
Sure.
up. And but they're not actually from Santa Cruz.
But I figured it was important that we get the record straight there for the the people.
For the
they
listeners.
they need to know this stuff.
Yeah. That's it was just funny because
Yeah,
I had Fushu Mang on like a CD when I was a very young child, and I was a fan, and then they, when like one of my songs got played on the radio or something, they were like, "Our boy from Santa Cruz," and I was like, "Hold the phone,
right. Yeah,
you're not from Santa Cruz."
right. That is hilarious.
Yeah.
That's so funny. But in now getting to, so you're growing up there, and I know you end up moving to New York. We'll get to that in a second, but then coming back because you really like it in California. Like you just feel like that's your home.
I am a California boy through and through.
Right.
When I spent some of my young adult life in New York, and I'm glad I went there because I started my first band, but right. I definitely I thought to myself that I would be in New York for this long period of time. Like I said to myself, I'm going to live in New York for the rest of my life. Like,
sure.
I was so into it. And then I was so wrong. I mean, I grew up where there's trees and beautiful ocean, and right. You take that stuff for granted when, you're young, I think. But
sure. Or like you might not realize how precious it is. If it's all you know, you think this is what's everywhere. Like you may not realize just how different or opposite that is even going to be.
Yeah. Then you get in a van and you tour the whole country and you go, oh yeah, it's pretty nice here.
It's pretty special. It absolutely is. Yeah. And then, so where I guess I often ask the question, where did music grab your brain and not let go? But I think the answer is in the fact that at 7, your dad showed you a tape of Jimi Hendrix.
Yeah. He had, we got like this Woodstock VHS, and I watched the entire Woodstock video. It was like Hendrix playing Woodstock, and I was like, I have to learn how to play guitar like that.
Sure.
It like was an earth-shattering moment.
Yeah.
And then like more specifically the record Band of Gypsies, like Live at the Fillmore East, where it's like a live record. That was pretty transformational. Hearing him play guitar. So I spent like a lot of my early childhood just focusing on being a guitar player.
Yeah. Yeah. You really wanted to be just like him. Did you ever try and play lefty because of like that's the way he played, or did you just know that it was not your?
I like my dad had this guitar like around when I was a kid, and I would pick it up, and I just was a righty. I wrote right-handed.
Sure.
But yeah, being a left-handed guitar
shred.
player, being a left-handed guitar player is definitely a challenge. There's less options. So
sure, yeah. Yeah, and then so if I get it right, like then you form a punk band in high school. Is that in California or is that in New York?
That's in Santa Cruz.
That's in Santa Cruz. Okay. And is there any like that progression? It's so funny how often punk music is the first music made by, almost exclusive. Like it's the one that comes up absolutely the most, if not almost exclusively, is everyone who comes on the show is like, I started a punk band in high school, and then boom, I do it. Like the music you end up creating later on is very often having nothing to sound like that. Some people stay in that genre, but most people move on to do something completely different.
Yeah, I
but it
think
comes up a lot.
I think the reason that is because you realize that there's more to life than your parents' record collection.
Right.
And maybe the first thing that you get introduced to is like Green Day or something, or
Sure.
Dead Kennedys.
Right.
And I was like really into Dead Kennedys and the Germs, and I went super into like the Stooges, like punk.
Yep.
And
I think there's also that angsty rebellion to it where you're now in your teens and you're like, trying to just be a little bit of a...
You're trying to drink 40s with your friends and...
Yes.
And wreak absolute havoc, and it's the soundtrack to your teenage rebellion.
Yep. Totally.
But yeah, so my dad especially did not have the coolest music taste. He showed me like Beggar's Banquet. That was like a cool record that he showed.
And he does have Hendrix to his resume.
Hendrix.
Yeah.
Hendrix, like, yeah. That stuff is amazing. I mean, but when I went into high school, I had a friend who showed me the Velvet Underground, and that was like the next, like Velvet Underground, David Bowie. Like after the punk stuff, finding that was really monumental.
That's so awesome. And then, were there any other mentors, teachers, anything in there that you're also like, learning from or guiding you on that path? Because I got to imagine you're also showing promise or talent as a musician at a young age.
Yeah. I had my whole childhood, I took guitar lessons.
Sure.
It's like from 7 to high school.
Mm-hmm.
I had a great guitar teacher in Santa Cruz, this guy, Bill Walker, who did like looping, like a lot of guitar looping. And he curated like a festival and I played it, and he showed me Radiohead, and that was like cool. Another thing
another
like,
door unlocked in your brain.
Oh my God. Yeah. It was honestly the people in my hometown that introduced me to like underground music. That really, like my freshman year of high school friend that showed me Velvet Underground, and then my guitar teacher showing me Radiohead. Those were big ones.
Yeah. It's funny just how you can remember those moments, almost the day that it happened. Like the moment you're just like, what am I listening to? And how do I never stop listening to it or finding more? Like that's something we always talk about, is like the first time you listen to it is you can't recapture that. And you're almost like jealous of other people where you're like, oh my God, this is the first time you're listening to it. Okay, I'm going to give you some space.
Yeah. I mean, I remember when I heard Heroin by the Velvet Underground. And I was just like, what? Mm-hmm. This is absolutely just against everything that I've been taught.
Yes.
This breaks every rule. It's like spoken word kind of like affected slam poetry punk thing. It just really, it made me want to move to New York.
Sure.
Hearing the Velvet Underground and Nico, it really, like, I was like, my dad was a New Yorker. I'd go every summer to New York to visit my aunts and uncles that were like in the tri-state area, and we would like go to the Village and walk around, and I was like, I'm going to move to New York and start a band, and that's what I did.
Yeah. So that, what are we looking at? 2009, I believe.
Yeah.
And the punk band, if we go back to them for a second, Were they the ones who said you should be the singer and you had never really thought of being the singer?
Yeah.
That's so cool, though. Like, just how unique and powerful your voice is. And it was never something you had really thought of. You were a guitar player until that point.
Yeah, it was decided. We had like my buddy is the same friend that showed me the Velvet Under, full friend. He changed my life. He had a like kind of an 8-track, but it would burn CDs. It was like
neat.
that era.
Mm-hmm.
And he brought it over to my house and we were writing a song, and I was like, so who's gonna sing on the song? Like, are you gonna sing on the song, right? I'll play the chords and we'll record a drum beat on this. And he's like, well, your speaking voice is interesting enough. You should be the singer. In fact, you are a singer. You're the lead singer. And I was like, oh, no. I have like no skill set whatsoever, but I can play guitar very well. Like, I was confident in that.
Sure.
But he straight up was like, you have a unique voice and you should be the singer of this band. And I was like, all right, it's been decided. I have
there it is.
I have no choice.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like my fate was presented to me, and then it was all crazy after that.
Right, yeah, uphill and downhill and in every which way, but
playing house parties in Portland, Oregon with my buddies, and then starting my band and out of college, getting signed and touring internationally with that band, which it's called Mainland.
Yeah, so let's talk about this. So like in 2009, you moved to New York, you have a band there, but I just love stories like this. The eventual drummer, Corey, comes up to you either after a show or meets you or whatever and wants to be in a band with you, but basically says the one you're in right now sucks.
Yeah, he's the guitar player of Mainland.
Okay.
Corey, yeah. We played a house party in Harlem, and we were playing in a living room, and there were dollar shots of vodka, and we set up in this living room. It was me, a guitar player, a bass player, and a drummer, some guys I met at college, and it was really fun because there was no stage. It was just like me and this audience right up against each other. And I had met Corey at a vegan barbecue because he had brought a fish to a vegan barbecue, and we were the only non-vegans. We were the only non-vegans at this rooftop.
So you had to
barbecue.
Talk to each other.
So we became friends because we just like shared a meal. Right. And I told him about the show, and he came, and yeah, he came up to me after the show, and he really liked it, and he thought to himself in the aftermath of that Jordan was the best part of the band. Like, and I eventually called him because I'd been to his house in Brooklyn, and he had this really cool loft in Brooklyn, and being like, hey, would you want to like started the band? And it was the very beginning of, I'd say it was the very beginning of my career in music, because we played locally, we played every show imaginable. And then we signed to 300 Atlantic Records, and that was wild. Yeah,
your first EP was made with, I guess, the drummer of Spoon.
Yeah.
And then off of that, you kind of got signed because it had a good kind of following to it, right?
Yeah, I mean, we got a bunch of press off that EP. And Jim from Spoon did an amazing job producing. We recorded live to tape.
Yeah, Jim Eno, right?
Jim Eno, yeah. We met him on tour, and we visited the studio, and he was just really impactful because he encouraged us to set up in like isolated room. His studio at the time is not there anymore, public hi-fi, and we recorded everything live to tape.
Oh,
like
Love
real
it.
Printed to tape, no Pro Tools. It was
right.
Very old school, but really fun.
Yeah.
And I love how that recording came out because it just captures our young punk garage rock kind of band that we were.
Yeah,
at
yeah,
the
yeah.
time.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure the band Rat Boys out of Chicago, their latest release, The Window, was just right on tape, and they were like, I guess it's like every reel is like 27 minutes. It's like always like just the same amount of each one or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And so they had one song on there that was like 8 minutes long. They were like, we kind of only have 2 shots at this. Otherwise, we're gonna have to just start all over again and record over the top of it.
Yeah, I mean, and the more that you record over tape, the more like messed up it sounds.
Right.
The more distortion you get. So you hear
The
a Mac
Phantom
DeMarco,
prior, yeah.
you hear a Mac DeMarco recording, and he just keeps recording over the same tape, and it just gets really sketchy sounding after a while. But it's fun. Tape is fun.
Totally. And so
It's
this is
fun.
Mainland. This is something you end up being with them. I guess they're together about 8 years, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it sounded like kind of like the catch line was West Coast reverby guitar with New York drum beats.
That's accurate.
I think it was yours, but it was just something I came across.
Oh,
And
yeah.
one song I wanted to...
We were all from California, and we all
Okay.
met in New York.
Right.
And New York's an island, so we
Right.
felt like California.
Mm-hmm.
That's how we came up with the name.
Yeah. There you go. That's funny. The one song I wanted to just kind of speak to a little bit was Beggars.
Oh, yeah.
Because I think, if I heard it right, you were almost mimicking the sound of a New York City subway.
Mm-hmm.
And then just that song kind of was a little bit of how you were feeling first coming to New York.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So-
it's really a hard city to live in.
Right.
You know, because I think if you have lots of money, like if you're doing financially, New York is amazing. But if you're like the three of us, we all worked at the Bowery Hotel and we were hustling, and it's a grind. It's a grind
Mhm.
making it work in New York as an artist. So, yeah, I remember sitting on the L train going to Brooklyn, and you kind of you see the metal pillars.
Yep.
In between the
Oh, totally.
the westbound and eastbound trains, and there is a rhythm to the subway, and
Sure.
that is what inspired that song.
Yeah. Yeah. So if you get a chance, go check out Beggars by Mainland. The whole catalog's great. I mean, obviously, you wouldn't have been together that long with that, like you said, international touring and being signed to a record label if it wasn't great music. So definitely
you.
check that out. Yeah. And then I guess it's 2016. You actually moved the band back to California,
Mm-hmm.
and then in 19, it's over.
Yeah.
And I think it had a little. We don't have to go totally into it, but like I think it had a little bit to do with label, a little bit to do with recording, a little bit to do with the band, but ultimately, it's just. I think you just said it was time. But also, from what I understood, you kind of just hit I'm going to say a word, like a depression over it because of how much it meant to you and how you didn't know what was maybe going to be next.
Yeah, I mean, I had put in a lot of time into that
Sure.
band, so I guess I also didn't expect it to take off in the way it did early on.
I gotcha. So
it
the
was-
highs of that were now harder to reconcile.
Well, it was. I mean, it always felt right
Hmm.
in the moment. But yeah, we had, we had some trouble with our label, and then I think in the end I was carrying a lot of the weight on my shoulders
Sure.
with making the music. So that was a challenge,
Hmm.
and I think I was just burnt out. And then we've been touring a lot, and yeah, it was just time to move on.
Yeah.
You know,
But still difficult. Like it was still a hard hurdle or chasm to overcome just because of not knowing what was going to come next for you, I suppose.
yeah. I mean, I was like mourning it for
Yeah.
sure. Thing happened. I got invited to be a part of this songwriting camp for American Idol, which was interesting.
Yeah.
Because I think one of the great things about Mainland was I got to meet so many talented people in LA.
Mm-hmm,
Like
mm-hmm.
the first thing that the label had me do was like go to LA and write with a bunch of people. And I met my mentor through that. And
I wanted to bring him up actually right at this point. It's funny. We're in sync here. So this is Sam Hollander, right?
Mhm.
Yeah. And you were, and I don't mean to interrupt your story there, but like also include maybe how the advice he had given you in this moment.
Oh yeah. So in 2019, we played our last show at the Satellite in Los Angeles. It was like January 2019, and it was definitely the end. We were all pretty burnt out, I think. And then I did the writing thing, that whole 2019. I was writing for other artists, other bands, and a bunch of those songs came out, which was really great. I was like, okay, I'm just a songwriter now. And then we really truly broke up at the end of that year. We'd taken some space that summer, and then that winter I was with some friends. We were actually in Wyoming. My friends have a place in Wyoming, so we went there, and I broke out in shingles.
Oh my gosh.
After the band broke up because I was so anxious and stressed out. I had I guess I had chicken pox as a kid, but I had this terrible chest. And I was like, oh, this must just be the anxiety of it all. No, but I had like this terrible rash, and I was like, oh my God, did I get poison oak or something? But it felt like this pinching internal pain. Right. And I went home to LA and I saw a doctor, and he was like, oh yeah, you got shingles. I was like, what the hell? Shingles?
And stress-induced, basically.
Stress-induced, yeah.
Wow.
I had like a nervous, basically like a nervous breakdown around the band officially breaking up, because I was like, what do I do now? Like, what happens now? I just put all this time and moved major city to major city and played every city. We did crazy, amazing stuff together, and then it was just done. And I was like, oh my God. And so I went and I met with my mentor, Sam, and it was the beginning of 2020. It was January of 2020. And I was like, Sam, what do I do? Like, I feel like I've just dedicated so much of my life to being an artist, and what should I do? And he was like, well, you're young, man. Just go make another thing. Give it a name and just go give it another shot. You're not like an old geezer.
Reload and
just do it. Like you have a style, you have a voice that people like. So just go make another thing. And I was like, okay. And then the pandemic happened.
Yeah, that's even going to heap on more anxiety onto that.
Well, the pandemic was kind of great. I feel like I had a good pandemic. My lady and I went up to the Bay Area, and I brought all of my gear, and I really had time to make a bunch of songs.
Sure.
And
actually, as we talk about this, I want to bring in a track to put underneath as we talk about this from that album. Okay. So I have two. I'll let you pick which one you think you want to have underneath this. I know the big hit of that EP was Memory. My personal favorite is Paris. So which one do you want to put underneath this?
You can play Paris.
All right, cool. All right, we'll let this play a little bit off the top, and then we'll bring you back on to talk more about this time frame. So here's Paris by Windsor.
I'm in LA. You've been talking to your parents on your way to Paris. On a big jet plane, wishing you would stay. 'Cause I've been missing you daily, every time you're near me. I never feel no pain. California dreaming, loving you is
all right, now we got the mood set. There's lots of music being written in the Bay Area.
Yeah.
So the album ends up being called "Where the Redwoods Meet the Sea," and it's a phrase that your father used to use for that Santa Cruz area, right?
Hmm. Yeah, that's how he
And
described
as we
it.
saw in the Banana Slug video, it's accurate.
Yeah, there's lots of majestic redwoods in Santa Cruz.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And this ends up becoming also, I guess, therapeutic music. Like it ends up becoming very, if I understand it right, personal, autobiographical kind of themes throughout all of these songs.
Yeah, it kind of became the essence of the project.
Sure.
It's like these diary entry kind of songs. I think in the past I hadn't used like my musical outlet in that way
Mm-hmm.
to go that personal, but I think, like I was saying, the pandemic afforded me the time and like the isolation and the space to really think
Sure.
about my past, and I think I didn't want to write about the pandemic, you know?
Right.
So I wrote about growing up in Santa Cruz and also why the project's named Windsor,
Right. It's a street you grew up on.
the street I grew up on.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's all
And I
a
think-
conceptual, like the EP and the project name were all conceptual
Yeah.
idea.
And I think if I had to make a guess, it's another reason why it resonates so well with people is they're hearing or feeling or both, their reminiscent, journal entries and connections to their childhoods through these things, whether it was, redwoods of Santa Cruz or not. Like, I think there's a genuine, recognizable tone to this that I think it just resonates with people, and they just want to feel calm and at home, and this is what you're helping them with these tracks.
Yeah. The EP's pretty introspective.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And great music. I mean, it was obviously a great kind of, first step into the Windsor kind of season of things.
Yeah, it was really fun to make.
And then with
I forgot about this video. This video it's shot in like Texas and Tucson. I was like, we played a Austin City Limits after show, and I bought my truck on that. I have like an old truck, and I bought it after that show and road tripped it back with a friend, and we had a Super 8 camera and shot a bunch of footage when we were on our road trip together.
That's perfect. That's so cool. And so then in this same time frame, your mentor Sam Hollander also sometimes would send you hooks to just be vocals on. This is, I think, also going to not only be a great story, but I think it's a window into songwriting for people, because it was an element to things that I wasn't fully aware of. That sometimes a songwriter is writing just the hook, and they'll record them and send them out to, I don't want to say famous people, but like recording artists, and they'll say, "Oh, I'd like to use this hook on a song. Let's collab from that point going forward." And you might do, I don't know, you tell me, 15, 20 of them, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then it's part of like a folder of audios that gets sent around to other collaborative songwriters, I guess.
Yeah. So in 2020, Sam, after our meeting, he would sometimes hire me to give me a couple $100 and I would record. Because he's not a singer, he was a rapper
Right.
back in the day. Before he became a professional songwriter, producer. And he would send me these folders of melodies of him sometimes mumbling the melody lyrics. Well, he'd always have the lyrics and concept like written.
Right.
He would create these like choruses, and sometimes there'd be a verse, 2 verses. Sometimes it would just be a chorus.
Sure.
It would be dependent on how fleshed out the idea was, but he would record them, send them to me. I would re-record the vocals, so he had a singer on them,
Mm-hmm.
and then he would send them out. And to artists he'd collaborated with in the past, or that his management would set him
Yeah.
up with. And that's like a thing in that not a lot of people know that happens with pop stars,
Right.
is that they get
That's why I thought
sent.
this was a fascinating part of
They
the
get.
convo.
It is a crazy story.
So now, before we get to the reveal, and again, people who know already know, but for those who don't, this will be neat. Like, so, but you listened to one in particular, and you kind of just got a sense that you were confident that one was going to get caught by somebody, and it was the one that was next year. So you maybe even put a little extra effort and time into it. Is that right?
I just felt like it was one of the catchier ones in the batch.
Yeah.
There was another one that got cut by Weezer, actually, that
Oh.
became like a top 10 hit that I sang the demo on. It's a song called Records.
Okay.
It's a great chorus that Sam wrote. So I thought Records and I thought Next Year would get cut, and they both did.
That's cool.
But 6 months goes. 6 months? It was like August of 2021. And I had put out 3 singles independently.
Off of
and
that Redwoods album. Or pre that.
It was pre that.
Okay. So yeah, that one song you released was July.
Uh-huh.
And that got some play as well. And so that was also kind of, I guess, helping you feel good about the Windsor solo thing.
Yeah, I had put out July, I'd put out Real Life and a song called Peach Fuzz. And I just was having fun with it. I wasn't like putting a bunch of pressure on it or anything like that. And I was just releasing songs and shooting videos for fun and focusing on the songwriting thing. And I sang those demos for Sam, and I didn't hear from Sam until it was like beginning of fall or August of 2021. And he calls me. I was in a session with another artist, actually, writing and producing. And he calls me, and I'm like standing in my front yard talking to him. And he's like, dude, I don't know how to tell you this, but you know that hook that I wrote Next Year that you sang by Ryan Lewis of Macklemore, Ryan Lewis fame? And I told them, and they want you on the song. Like, can you fly to Seattle in a couple weeks to shoot the video for it? They want you to be a part of it. So I was just like completely shocked. Forgotten about it.
Because back to your other point, so the Weezer one got picked up and then they ran with it. So like you got to help Sam sell it, is in essence what you did.
I did, yeah.
And then this one though, not only did they want to like lean into the hook, but they wanted you to come along for the ride.
Yeah. Well,
and I got to think that's such a fucking crazy moment where you're just like, what's going on?
Well, I'd only been doing the solo thing for not even a year.
Yeah.
I had just celebrated 1 year of the first song coming out. So I was like, all right, we're like making some headway, but I didn't expect to be, singing with a Grammy award winning rapper.
Right.
So that was really cool because he just promoted the song.
Sure.
It was the first song he put out that Ryan had produced in a long time.
It was like a 3-year hiatus or something like that.
No, him and Ryan was like a 6-year hiatus.
6 years. Okay, yeah, I knew it was a giant chunk of time. There was just like, and then suddenly this emerges.
Yeah, and then in that time of us promoting Next Year and doing late night and stuff, Ryan and I struck up a really good relationship. And,
sure.
And Macklemore still lives in Seattle, but Ryan lives in LA. So Ryan invited me over to his studio, and he and I just had a great bond from the beginning. And so I was like, we should write something for me. I'm working on an EP. Like, we should write a song for me if you're down. And he was like, I'm so down. Let's do it. And then we wrote a song together, and that ended up being Maniac.
Yeah.
And Macklemore called me and asked me for the hook of that song. So it's just cool. Because I didn't write Next Year. I was just a performer on it. But Maniac, sure. I wrote.
Right.
So.
Yeah. Well, the other thing with Next Year is you very naturally found yourself on, obviously if you write a song called Next Year, you're going to be on like New Year's Rockin' Eve.
Yeah.
So I have the video of it. I'm sure I'll get shut down by, the YouTube bots if I let this thing play very much. But I do want people to hear the hook part, and then I'm going to take the sound way down, but let it still play because it's so fun to watch you and Macklemore on stage together. But here's the New Year on the New Year's Eve special, and just so you can get a kind of flavor for what this is all about.
Next year's gonna be better than this, yeah. Next year's gonna be better than this, 'cause New Year's Eve coming with a fresh kiss, yeah. Next year's gonna be better than this, yeah. Let's go. Next year's gonna be better than this, yeah. Next year's gonna be better than this, 'cause New Year's Eve coming with a fresh kiss, yeah. Next year's gonna be better than this. Next year's my come up.
All right, that'll be where I'd get in some trouble, but let's let it play in the background just so that we can enjoy this more. But what a this day had to be insanely, like, surreal.
It was nuts. Because the day before, we had taped Jimmy Fallon.
Oh, okay.
So we did it all in, like, a weekend. And we taped Jimmy Fallon on top of Pike Place Market in Seattle.
Fantastic. So
we did that. And then we flew to LA and we did this.
Right.
And it was just wild. Like I was I got there and they taped this one in the Warner lot.
Got it.
In Los Angeles. So you're on like a film studio lot. And
sure.
You show up there and the first thing I see when I get there is Big Boy from Outkast, or just like hugging. And I'm like, I'm like in a different timeline.
Right. And what even before you got in, weren't there, like, because it was 2022, like it was COVID rules were in high effect. Weren't they not letting you in, and you had to tell them where the performers?
Yeah. No, I was in a bus with a bunch of the other people. Oh, this is a good moment.
Isn't that cool? Oh my God, I was so happy for you. I'm like, that's so cool.
I was like in a bus with like the horn player and they made up times, and if you see the audience, they're all in masks because it was COVID times.
Yeah.
2021.
Yeah, Macklemore still looks like he goes thrift shopping, of course.
Mm-hmm.
That one looks like it came off of like the Steve from Blue's Clues. It's that same color scheme, but but fantastic. What a great, just such a great song, and what a fun experience this must have been. The other thing I wanted to talk about was going back to when you were recording. So the recorded version is still your demo version from the original recording, which I think just blew my mind too, that it was like, that was that good.
So I was living in this 2-bedroom house in LA, and I had one of the rooms in the house was my studio. And the very simple setup in there. Sam was just like, just make it sound cool. I was like, okay, so I'll just like distort it and make it sound
right,
a little lo-fi and interesting, and do a take where I scream and just layer at it and make it really crunchy and
awesome.
And
didn't you use a plugin that then Ryan Lewis had the actual machine for?
You've done your research, man. You're Nardwaring this. I used plugins because I didn't have like the real.
Well, obviously, but
then Ryan was like, "Oh, come to my studio and we'll record it for real." And I'm like, "For real? I think it sounds really good already. We'll see if we can beat the." You can never beat like the charm. Sometimes.
No, I think
sometimes
this happens. Yeah.
Sometimes you can, but I had heard the track and I was like, "Oh, this is really like this is fun. I'm gonna kill this." Like I wanted to do good on Sam. I wanted Sam to get the cut on the song, whoever was going to get it. I had no idea who it was for, but um, yeah, when I went to Ryan's studio to re-record those vocals, it was too polished.
Sure.
And so we tried to beat it. He had like a bajillion dollars worth of like nice gear. We're in the Beastie Boys' old studio.
Oh wow.
It's just like, wow, this place is amazing. And
Right.
he was like, "What did you use like on the demo? It sounds so like gritty and awesome."
Filthy.
And I was like, "I use this, this plugin or this thing." And he's like, "Oh, we have the real one here. We'll use that." And then we did it, and it just didn't compare. I think the performance that we got in the studio that day, just I'd heard the song too many times, and I just probably got in my head about it and just didn't have as much fun.
What we were talking about before, that you can't replace the first time you hear something or the first time you perform something. There's something about opening night almost.
Yeah, you just you're not like overthinking it.
Mm-hmm. That's so fun. What a great that story just has so many chapters that are phenomenal.
I mean, yeah, and then hot tub boats and party buses and and then the demo vocal, like making it on the final recording, really gave me like a boost of confidence as a producer.
Sure.
I was like, yeah, I made that thing sound really bitchin'. And like not even because you can have the nicest studio in the world, but if you don't have a level of taste, then it doesn't mean you're going to make a cool song or a cool recording. It's not always the most expensive studio that makes the best recording.
That's exactly right. No, I totally agree with you there. And this is also where, I guess, is Memory now out as a single at this same time, which kind of helps your solo stuff also catch a lot of fire.
My manager was like, "All right, you just did a track with Macklemore. Let's put out Memory. It's your best song that you got right now." And I was like, "Yeah, it's fine. Like, it's about my friend in Santa Cruz who passed away from a drug overdose."
Whoa.
We'll see if people like that or they think it's too dark or something. And we put it out and it charted independently on alternative radio without any label, nothing. People really loved that song. And it was just like crazy. The last song I thought that would be anything. Some people would DM me and be like, it's like the soundtrack that got me through my breakup. I was like, oh, interesting. It's a breakup song too for some people.
Sure. So. Well, you have it almost in your bio that it's like now that the music is out there, it's yours, and you hope that it resonates, and so it's gonna be, it will connect emotionally with people in different ways.
I hope
for whatever they need in the moment.
Yeah, what it's about for me is different than what it's about for somebody else,
And especially if it's been so well written, well crafted, especially from a lyrical standpoint, then it doesn't make somebody say, "Oh, that one that's not for me." If it's so universal and at its core, then it can be about losing a friend to a drug overdose in your high school years, and then also for someone else that it was a breakup song. Like it can be that universal if it's just so genuine at its core.
Yeah, that's why. I mean, there's this trend in music now where it's like so specific, and I just never really got behind that trend. I feel like you never want to write something that's. I personally don't like writing things that are too vague, but if you're like, I drink a coffee on the corner of 4th Street, then that's not a song for everyone. It's really kind of a selfish way.
Sure. No, I totally know what you're saying. And I agree with you. The being more, universal is probably the best word that I can use, is letting that be what someone else wants to interpret it to mean.
Yeah.
So to kind of unfortunately jump forward just in the sake of time here, you do then like that. The EP does really well, which then leads you to work on this full length, the self-titled Windsor that came out basically mid-May. So like we're only like 2 weeks post-release, right?
Yeah.
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 And it's just phenomenal record that we played, Shut Up and Kiss Me off the top. Was the first song off of it Abandon?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. We're going to play that in a second, but you had talked about performing something live, and I want to make sure everybody gets to enjoy that.
Okay.
If you're still down to perform.
Yeah. I'll grab my guitar.
Nice. What I'll do in the meantime is kind of put you in full center stage here, and if you want to intro the song or provide any backstory or just let her rip, whatever you want to do.
This song's called Lose You. It's track 2 off the new album, and yeah, it's to me it's about when you feel like someone you are in love with or crushing on could be running away, and you're holding on for dear life. Call it fate, don't wanna fuck this up. Keep your eyes on me until I come undone. I wanna know you again before you change your mind. Don't tell me it's over. I want you one more time before I lose you. Before I lose you. Take me home and pull the curtains down. It's a shame we won't ever come around. I wanna see you again before you change your mind. Don't tell me it's over. I want you one more time before I lose you. Before I lose you. Now my head's such a mess. An empty bed is all I have left in my room. Now my head's such a mess. An empty bed is all I have left. I want you one more time before I lose you. I want you one more time before I lose you. Before I lose you. I want you one more time before I lose you. Before I lose you. I want you one more time before I lose you. Thank you.
Thank you. That was awesome. Thank you so much for playing. Great track. Just phenomenal. The whole catalog and this whole album is phenomenal. Like, we're going to try and fit in 2 more tracks here because I think they're, but one because it's important and the other because after the credits roll, I always play my favorite. But I want to stick with the first release off this album because it's obviously important for you to have obviously gone on this journey, written this song, and then put it out as the first single. Obviously, it's an important message for you to want to get out there, or at least again share. And sentiment that you shared, again, in that kind of bio I read off the top, where you hope at a minimum maybe people don't feel as alone. That's a phrase we use all the time in our in February. We do a show every year called "Listen to the Dissonance," and it's dedicated to mental health topics. And musicians come on and talk about what they've been through and share songs. And we always say, at a minimum, hopefully people could listen to that song and feel less alone. So you are right on the same vibe with what we make sure is always out there for people, because it's so important. But I thought maybe you would want to set this up a little bit, and then I can kind of bring it in, and then we can, again, kind of speak to it a little bit more. But tell us a little bit about the track Abandon.
Okay. Abandon was inspired by a moment when I was a kid and my dad and I were on a trip together in Costa Rica, and he left me alone in a hotel room for 24 hours and ran off with a woman on the back of a motorcycle. And I spent a bunch of time in therapy, and this story came up one day, and I just felt like it was something I had to get off my chest.
Sure.
And so
absolutely.
Recorded it kind of rapid fire, just expressing the event, and it became an important song on the record.
For sure. Yeah, and you'll hear it right in the lyrics. It's everything basically you just talked about is kind of right in there. And it is a different style, at least from my listening to it too, where it does kind of blend between kind of like that kind of speak song as well as the great vocals. So I really think the track also is very brilliantly written as well. So let's take a listen to Abandon by Windsor.
You never met till that night. You never loved me much. 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 Now you're somewhere fading up in the heavens, and you're barely standing with your arms and your legs and your feet and your eyes. You know you drive your black BMW up some country road, up some oceanside drive. But you don't miss me, and I don't miss you, and I hate you. And it's been 10 years since I've seen you. But I'm coping with the aloneness and the abandon and the loneliness that I can't ride or die or hide away from.
So obviously incredibly raw and vulnerable, and admire what you're doing there. This has to have meant a lot for your personal journey and to probably a lot of other people. I'm guessing you're probably getting people to reach out to you, thanking you for putting this out there and helping them maybe work through their own journey.
Yeah, I mean, I think that when I made it, I was like kind of afraid to put it out there.
Is it hard to listen to now, or is it gotten to a point where you're good with it? Like, how are you personally doing?
I'm really proud of how much the song developed from the demo to now. Like,
Sure.
It's come a long way, and I love how it sounds. I think it sounds just really. One thing I love about it most is that it sounds so much like me.
Sure.
You know, like I can't really pin a influence on it, which I love that about it. I feel like it's really unique to me. It doesn't feel hard to listen to because it's catharsis. You
Sure.
know?
Yeah.
it got me through something. So
Yeah, absolutely. And I believe it was, you know, a, I mean, or very clearly, but also you were coming through therapy, which was helping you connect with these things that were suppressed, and you were able to now realize it's affecting you in ways you weren't even aware of. And
oh
this was
yeah,
helping you get it up and out, and
I
you know,
pushed this down for years.
sure,
My whole life, I pushed this particular event down. So I came home one day after talking about this, and this song just erupted.
Sure, I can
And
imagine.
so I'm grateful that it came to fruition, and that my label was, that they were down to, that they believed in it,
Yeah.
as
Well, I
an
think
important one.
sonically, it's awesome. Like it's like I don't know that many people will connect the dots on it the first time they listen to it. They might just think, "Oh, this is a bop. I love it," and then they might sort of catch them and be like, "Wait, what did he just say?" Like, I think that's the other part of a lot of your music is it's telling a story that might be darker, but it's told in a way on this music that's practically danceable or upbeat, and it's like it's first of all genius, but it's also like why wouldn't a label be good with that? I mean, like, it's a
Well,
great.
when I showed it to my managers for the first time, they said, "Oh, this is like your this must be the place."
Mm.
By Talking Heads. It's like
Yeah.
you're without like structure song,
Sure.
and that felt like pushing myself forward as an
Mhm.
artist.
Yeah.
It felt adventurous. Because I think sometimes you get just like bogged down by the same, way that you make songs. And not only was it the most vulnerable thing I've ever put out there as Windsor, but the way it came to be was so raw too. It's like I just set up the microphone and just like emoted for hours and hours without thinking, and then edited a song together and found the best parts, and then all of a sudden it told this story. So I'm proud of it.
You should be. Yeah. And
it's fun to play live too. It's a fun one to play live.
I'm sure because there's practically like you said, like these great notes to hit, but then also like the telling of the story and I don't know. It's a really great track.
Thanks.
Yeah, absolutely. So the album is out there for people. I wanted to bring up your site to help promote some things. There's I wanted to bring this up. There's drawings that you've done. Like I guess you're a Renaissance man too. On top of all this,
yeah.
I'm going to bring up the site here, and then
God.
kind of connect the dots. So these are the drawings that are out there, and it's on your site. It's on windsormusic.com. I probably should have said this before because for people listening to the podcast version, Windsor is WINDSER. And so windsormusic.com, and then the drawings are there. And the reason why I wanted to bring this up, not only because they're very cool, but if you bump over to the merch, then you get Windsor designed shirts and hoodies and all sorts of cool stuff.
Yeah. Well, okay. So I'll talk about this.
Do it.
Over the holidays, I was super bored, and I didn't feel like making music because I had spent the entire year making my album, and I was like, I do not want to make music right now. Like I probably should be, but I just need a break. And I just picked up a pen and pad, and I'd never really had like any formal art training or anything like that. It never like came naturally to me. Like as a kid, like music, I'm such an auditory learner, you know. Like when I hear a sound, I can associate a color or a smell with it.
Oh, right. I've heard about people. Yeah.
I don't claim to have synesthesia or whatever that's called, but I think I learned through listening. And so like I never had any, I don't know, time devoted to drawing or painting or art. I mean, I always like taking photos and stuff. But over the holidays last year, I was like, I should just like try, you know. I always have such envy for for people who make physical things.
Sure.
You know, like music is just vibrations of air a lot
Right.
of the time. I mean, it's so important and it's
Right.
very meaningful, but you know, uh, my wife, she's a clothing designer and she makes physical things all the
Sure.
time. And
Right.
it's like, wow, that's so cool. Like you make something that someone wears on their body and
Right.
makes them feel awesome,
Mm-hmm.
you know, or like, you know, you go to Florence and you see the David and you're like, wow, someone like carved that out of stone. And
Right.
music is like this thing that's just floating in the ether. And I mean, musicians get to enjoy the process of making a vinyl record,
Sure.
but you didn't physically press that record. You did something
But I guarantee you, the sculptor or the clothing designer is saying, "Wow, you get to create sound and have it affect somebody emotionally." Like
yeah,
all art is brilliant and amazing and mind blowing, and but I get where you're coming from regarding the wanting to have that experience as well. I think.
a physical outlet that's
Yeah,
not, you know, music. So my my father-in-law was like, you should download Procreate. And so
sure.
I started doodling and and I showed it to some people and they're like, oh, this is really cool. Like you should just like make some merch items out of this,
I
you
think it's a
know?
great thing. Like I think that's
So
so like now not only are you representing the musician that you like, but the art that they've created. I just think it was a great idea.
thanks. Yeah, you know, I don't claim to be a great illustrator, but I'm working on it. And it's a fun like hobby for me,
Sure.
you know? And I love, like, I really want to make the coolest merch I can possibly make. So I was just really vibing on Calder and Dolly and
Mm-hmm.
California psychedelia,
Yep.
and so yeah, that was sort of the impetus of making the merch, and I just decided to put it on the website because
That's
why
so
not?
cool. No, I think people need to check that out. If you're listening on the podcast, definitely go to windsormusic.com and go check out the drawings and the merch. We always tell people the best way to support the artist is through the merch and, buying tickets to the shows or anything you can do direct with the artist to help them support what they're doing. So we always want to make sure we promote that stuff. Anything else we can promote? So like I did check unfortunately, you're playing in Baldwinsville, New York, with the Head and the Heart, which is right outside of Syracuse, which is not far from where I went to college, and I still have friends who live up that way. If I could make I think it's only about a 4-hour drive, I would so go there, but it's not at a time that I can make that work.
Uh,
But it would have been so awesome. But any other shows coming up? I think there's like 3 others coming up in California, but in the fall or anything else going to come around to kind of support the record?
there is some stuff in the works, so
Okay.
stay tuned.
Stay tuned to it's pretty much at Windsor. Most places it's at Windsor Music, and some we'll link to it all in our show notes. And if you search Windsor with the E, sometimes you do have to nudge Google in the right direction to not correct it back to with an O. But just a little tip right there. But you can also just check out our show notes and find it that way. And as my fingers will be crossed that it does come out east. Is there any prayer that the tour will head this direction?
Yeah, definitely. I mean,
Awesome.
we love our East Coast fans, so
That is true. You do have some New York fans, I got to think, from the mainland days that want to see some Windsor.
from playing New York as Windsor too.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for coming on the show. Thank you so much for telling such great stories, of being vulnerable with the themes, and can't thank you enough for also performing live. The track that we're going to play afterwards, which is my personal favorite of your catalog, is TV. So I wanted to see if you would mind setting that up before we say a formal goodbye and play that after the credits.
Yeah, TV I wrote with my good buddy Jackson Phillips from the band Daywave, and song to me is a love song, and it's about kind of the moments that you get to spend with someone that you love that are kind of simple, or like waking up late on a Sunday morning together.
It's the little things.
Yeah.
Kind of vibe.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Well, again, Windsor, thank you so much, and can't wait to see you perform live.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you. So there you have it, Windsor out of Cali. was there, headed to New York, headed back. And I can't thank him enough for being on the show and for sharing some great stories. I hope everyone enjoyed that, and what an awesome kind of story arc that's going on, and just great things down the road, I'm sure. So definitely check out Windsor.
Phil, let's say goodbye to everybody.
We hope you've enjoyed this episode of Your Next Favorite Band. We'd like to sincerely thank Windsor for being on the show here and allowing us to kind of dive into the catalog, dive into the backstories, the inspirations, and having him play live. It was just phenomenal. And just some great moments in there that I hope everybody really had a good time with that one. There'll be links in the show notes to all of his various channels, YouTube, Spotify. The YouTube has all these videos that we've been sharing, and they're all great, so you should definitely check it out. Again, especially if you've been listening on the pod. Hop over to his YouTube channel and enjoy the videos. They're gorgeous. Again, it's a really great way to kind of check out the music. So we'll also link to the socials so that you can always find that stuff. And definitely, obviously, give him a follow, because whenever he's going to be performing live near you, you're going to want to check it out. Not to be missed, and definitely something that I will be finding my way to as well. So, as always, our hope here is to bring you your next favorite band. If you happen to tune in tonight because you already knew Windsor, thank you very much. We hope you enjoyed it. We hope you liked what you heard and what you saw, that you might give us a like, a subscribe, a follow, and so that we can bring you your next favorite band in a future week. Or your next favorite band might already be out there. Nextfaveband.com has all of our prior interviews on demand, so you'd be able to pull them up, either the video version or the audio podcast. If you want any help with that, reach out. We can help you kind of curate who you might want to focus on based on your listening preferences. And we hope to see you at a live show soon. And stay tuned for one more track from Windsor. Here, enjoy the track TV. Definitely go find the self-titled album.
Daylight breaks the top of your sheets, lying with you, drinking your tea. Shadows bleed across the cold floor. Your head on my arm, I just wanna be yours. I just wanna be yours. And it's you and me, we're lost in the TV. On the weekend, my friend, I don't wanna go. And it's true that we got nowhere else to be. On the weekend, my friend, I don't wanna go. I don't wanna go. Every single message you left to run through my head over again. Sweaters hanging off at the door. Your head on my arm, I just wanna be yours. I just wanna be yours. And it's you and me, we're lost in the TV. On the weekend, my friend, I don't wanna go. And it's true that we got nowhere else to be. On the weekend, my friend, I don't wanna go. Outside of everything in my head, it's better there with you around. Outside of everything in my head, it's better there with you around. And it's you and me, we're lost in the TV.